City lights are trembling, shadows creep. A silent vow, a secret I must keep. Underneath this armor, just a heartbeat loud. A hero's face hidden, lost in the crowd. Masked in the moonlight, flying through the fight, chasing down the darkness, turning wrong to right. No cape, no glory, just a spark inside. Masked in the moonlight, where the heroes hide. Villains laugh, the plans unfold like.
Heroes Unmasked, the superhero podcast special edition episode. The men who kept Milestone alive: Dennis Cowan, Derek T. Dingle, Reginald Hudlin.
Welcome back to Heroes Unmasked, the Black Superhero Podcast. I'm Stephanie, and before we do anything else today, before we get into history, before we talk about legends, I need to take a moment because this episode is special.
I am Assad, and Stephanie is right. This one is special. We've told you about Dwayne McDuffie, the genius who built the foundation of everything. But today we're going to talk about the men who are still here, the men who refuse to let Milestone die, the living founders of Milestone: Dennis Cowan, Derek T. Dingle, and Reginald Hudlin.
And before we do that, we have some very important people to acknowledge because this show does not exist without a community. And our community showed up for us in a way that we need to say out loud.
We really do. So this past week, we are taking care of home first.
First, to my current sixth grade class. Every time I walk into the classroom, I think about the fact that you are growing up in a world where these stories are finally being told the way they deserve to be told. Static Shock is your generation. Black Panther is your generation. You are the reason this show matters most. This show is for you.
And let me just say, Dr. Cohen, sixth graders, you have a teacher who spent over 20 years in the classroom, earned her doctorate, and started a podcast about Black superheroes. On top of all that, that is what a hero looks like in real life. Pay attention to that example. Pay attention to her. That is power. She is power.
Stop it, Assad.
I will not, for it is true.
To my former students, wherever life has taken you since you left my classroom, I think about you. We are just getting started with Heroes Unmasked, so you may be finding out about this for the very first time right now. If you are, please subscribe on YouTube. Please share with one person you think would love it. That is all I'm asking. Help us get this into the world. I showed up for you. Now I need you to show up for Heroes Unmasked.
To our family and friends who have been riding with us, the people who listened to our first episode, text us, share our link, tell somebody about us. We could not do this without you. A podcast is nothing without listeners. You chose us. That is something we do not take lightly.
And to everyone who believed in this before we had a single episode out, Assad and I see you. We appreciate you. Our community is everything.
A note to our community: you do not have to wait till Sunday to be a part of Heroes Unmasked. Follow us right now. Check our posts every day of the week. We share facts and polls throughout the week, not just Sundays. When you hear something that moves you, surprises you, or makes you want to know more, leave a comment. Tell us what you think. Tell us what you want. To hear next. Tell us which hero you want us to cover. Tell us if we got something wrong. Like that'll happen. We read everything. We respond to as much as we can. Your voice shapes this show. Heroes Unmasked belongs to this community, not just us. So make some noise. We are listening. Part 1. Dennis Cowan, the artist who drew a universe. All right, let's get into it. Dennis Cowan, born January 30th, 1961, Springfield Gardens, Queens, New York. He is 64 years old and still one of the most important figures in the entire history of Black comics.
And his friendship with Derek Dingle goes back to their childhood. They grew up together in the same neighborhood. It was Derek Dingle who showed Dennis Cowan the first comic book, two boys from Queens who grew up to build one of the most important Black owned companies in publishing history.
Dennis Cowan was the first major Black artist at DC Comics and Marvel Comics. Before Milestone, before anything, he was there. He drew The Question, one of the most critically acclaimed runs in DC history. He co-created Hardware. He drew the original character sketches that served as the visual Bible for the entire Dakotaverse. Every artist who ever drew Milestone character was working from a foundation that Dennis Cowan built.
He is literally the reason hardware looks the way he looks, the reason Icon looks the way he looks. He drew the blueprints for an entire universe.
And in 2024, he re-released Conversations with Dennis Cowan, a full book of interviews about his life, his career, and his work. It won a silver IDPA Book Award. He is still being recognized. He's still being celebrated, still very much here and very much working.
He is currently drawing DC's New Gods series, a legendary artist still creating legendary work. Dennis Cowan is not past tense. He's present tense. His voice is still very much active.
And here is the most important thing I want our audience to know about Dennis Cowan. When Dwayne McDuffie died in 2011, it was at his memorial, among the people who loved him most, that Derek Dingle turned to Dennis Cowan and said, "It has been too long. We have to restart Milestone."
Grief became fuel. Loss became legacy. That is who these men are.
Dennis Cowan looked his childhood friend in the eye at the memorial of the partner they both loved and said, "Yes, let's go." And 2 years later, 2 years of legal work, Milestone 2.0 was born. Part 2. Derek T. Dingle, The Business of Black Excellence. Derek T. Dingle, the business architect of Milestone Media, the man who made sure that Dwayne McDuffie and Dennis Cowan were building on a foundation solid enough to stand on.
He is currently the Senior Vice President and Editor-in-Chief of Enterprise Magazine, one of the most important African American business publications in the country. He is a co-owner of the current Milestone Media.
What Derek Dingle understood from the very beginning of Milestone was something that the comic industry had almost never had to reckon with before: Black owned intellectual property. The deal that Milestone negotiated with DC in 1993 was unprecedented. Milestone retained the copyright of their characters. Milestone had the full final say of all merchandising and licensing. DC could only refuse to publish something they objected to. They were partners, they could not control it.
They owned their heroes. That was not common. That was not normal. That was Derek Dingle at the table making sure it happens.
And at San Diego Comic Con, when Milestone 2.0 relaunch was announced, Derek Dingle said to the crowd, and I want everyone to hear this, we have to keep this company alive. We have to maintain diversity in this industry. There has to be more stories to be told.
There have to be more stories to be told. That is the entire mission of Heroes Unmasked in one sentence.
Derek Dingle has been in the room where it happened for 30 plus years. He built the business case for black superhero stories when the industry said there was no market for them. They were wrong. Derek Dingle was right. The person did it exactly that. Part 3. Reginald Hudlin, the man who brought Milestone back.
Now we're getting to the man who technically was not one of the original four founders, but who became so essential to Milestone's survival and rebirth that his name belongs in the same sentence as theirs.
Reginald Hudlin, director, producer, writer. The man who directed House Party in 1990, one of the defining films of black cinema. The executive producer of the Academy Award ceremony in 2016. The second African American ever to hold that role. The executive producer of the Emmy Awards from 2020 to 2022. The first African American ever to do that.
He wrote one of the most celebrated runs in Black Panther history for Marvel. His Who is the Black Panther storyline modernized T'Challa for the 21st century and laid groundwork that the MCU films built on directly.
And when Dennis Cowan and Derek Dingle decided to restart Milestone after McDuffie's death, they brought Reginald Hudlin in as a co-owner and creative leader. And here is what Hudlin said when the relaunch was announced. And this is the line that defines Milestone 2.0 is about. This company is called Milestone Media. It was never just a comic book company. We are going to be working on multiple platforms in all kind of ways. We're going to be a lot of things. That's who we are.
Multiple platforms, all kinds of ways. That is a man who understands how the media landscape works in 2026 and how to make sure that these stories reach the audience they deserve.
In 2021, Helen wrote Milestone Returns, Infinite Number Zero. In that issue, relaunched the entire universe. He retold the Big Bang in the Decoderverse, but set the context in Black Lives Matter protests, police brutality, and over militarized response to a black community standing up for themselves. Same story, 2021 truth.
He also co wrote Icon versus Hardware, the 2023 crossover miniseries that brought two of Milestone's biggest characters into direct conflict. Drawn by Dennis Cowan, the two men who rebuilt Milestone together, making comics together. That is simply beautiful.
And in 2024, DC released a documentary called Milestone Generations, a full documentary about the founding of Milestone, what they built, the challenges they faced, and the rebirth of the company. All of them on screen, the whole story. If you have not watched Milestone Generations, that is your assignment after this episode. Part 4. Michael Davis, the founder who refuses to be erased. We have to stop here because we have covered 3 of Milestone's living founders, Dennis Cowan, Derek Dingle, and Reginald Hudlin. But there is a fourth man whose name belongs in every single sentence we have spoken today. And it is past time we said his name clearly and told his full story.
Michael Davis.
Michael Davis, born April 29th, 1958, artist, writer, teacher, mentor. One of the four co-founders of Milestone Media, the four men who sat together and decided to change the face of American comics were Dwayne McDuffie, Dennis Cohen, Derek T. Dingle, and Michael Davis, all four of them together.
And his contributions to what Milestone became are not a footnote, they are foundational.
Let's start with Bad Boy Studios, not the record label. Michael Davis's Bad Boy Studios came first, founded in 1987 before Sean Combs ever used that name. It was a mentorship program in New York City for young artists who wanted to break into comics. And the talent that came through that program, the names that program launched are legendary.
Aaron McGruger, creator of the Boondocks, came through Bad Boy Studios. Phil Jimenez, one of the great artists in Wonder Woman history. Bernard Chang, John Paul Leon, who drew the first 9 issues of Static and whose visual style became the defining look of Virgil Hawkins. Michael Davis found John Paul Legend in his mentorship program. He was so impressed by Leon's work, that he stepped aside from drawing Static himself so that Leon could have the job.
Think about that. Davis was supposed to draw Static. He had the assignment. He looked at this young artist in his program and said, "Your style is better for this character, much better than mine," and gave John Paul Leon the job. That's not ego, that's legacy. This is a man who understood that building the next generation mattered more than his own credit on a cover.
And Static, the character, is personal to Michael Davis in a way that goes beyond professional. The background for Virgil Hawkins, the family life that makes Static feel so real and so grounded, that came from Michael Davis's own life, his own family, his own history. He wrote the character Bible for Static. He told Dwayne McDuffie the story of his life, and Dwayne McDuffie built Virgil Hawkins from it.
Even the name, Davis has said that that character was originally named after someone else, and it was who pushed to have that name named Virgil Hawkins, the real life Florida man who applied to the University of Florida Law School in 1949 and was denied admission because of the color of his skin, an act of honoring a real person inside a fictional one. That kind of intentionality runs through everything Michael Davis built.
He also co created Hardware, Icon, and Blood Syndicate. He helped build the Dakotaverse from the ground up alongside his 3 co founders. And when Milestone launched in 1993, it launched with Michael Davis's fingerprints on everything.
The Hard Truth, Michael Davis and the 2021 relaunch. Now we have to talk about something different because telling the truth about Michael Davis is telling the truth about what happened to him.
When the Milestone relaunch was announced in 2021, Michael Davis was not part of it.
And this was not the first time. DC Comics had been systematically omitting Michael Davis from the Milestone story for years.
He still hosts Black Panel at San Diego Comic Con every year. He built that from nothing. He has kept it going for over 20 years. He created the Action File, a comic book based literal literacy program that is still the only comic book reading curriculum integrated into any school system in America. He created the Guardian line, a Christian comics universe that sold over 2 million copies directly into black households and churches. He is still here, still creating, and still fighting.
And here's the thing I need our audience to understand: Michael Davis not being part of the 2021 relaunch does not change his place in history. It cannot change what was built, it cannot change what he built. It cannot change the fact that Static exists because of his life story. It cannot change the fact that Bad Boy Studios launched careers that shaped a generation of black comic artists.
What it does mean is that we, all of us, who love Milestone, who love these characters, who believe that black creators deserve ownership and credit for what they build, have a responsibility to say his name loudly, clearly. Every time someone talks about Milestone and leaves Michael Davis out, we correct the record.
Say his name: Michael Davis, fourth founder of Milestone Media, co creator of Static, Icon, Hardware, Blood Syndicate, founder of Bad Boy Studios, mentor to a generation, the man who gave Virgil Hawkins his name and gave John Paul Leon his first job, a man who has fought every single day to be seen, to be credited, and to have his legacy treated with the respect it always deserved.
Heroes Unmasked will always say his name.
So when we talk about the men who kept Milestone alive, we talk about all four founders: Dwayne McDuffie, who gave us the vision; Dennis Cowan, who gave us the blueprint; Derek T. Dingle, who built the business; Michael Davis, who built the pipeline that fed the whole black enterprise with talent and kept the mission grounded in real black lives and real black stories. All four of them, every time. Part 5: What Three Men Refuse to Let Die.
Aside, I want to sit in this for a moment because I think about what it took for these men to bring Milestone back. The legal battles, the delays, the years of trying to get the launch right. But they did it.
Nothing worth keeping alive ever is. And the reason they kept pushing: through lawsuits, through delays, through a comic industry that is genuinely difficult for any black owned endeavor, is the same reason Dwayne McDuffie started it in the first place. Because black children deserve to see themselves as heroes, not sidekicks, not diversity hires, not the black friend, but the hero.
Dennis Cohen said something in an interview that has stayed with me since I read it. He said that when he was growing up, he would read comics and never saw himself. And he decided that if he was going to be in comics, he was going to make sure other kids didn't feel that way.
He spent his entire career keeping that promise, and the promise is still being kept right now in 2025 and 2026 through Earth M, through the Milestone Compendiums, through DC Universe Infinite, where you can read every original issue, through this post.
Yes, through this podcast.
We are part of that promise. Heroes Unmasked exists because Dwayne McDuffie asked why were no black heroes. It exists because Dennis Cowan drew the blueprints, because Derek Dingle protected the business, because Reginald Hudlin refused to let the fire go out, and because every person listening to us right now said, yes, this story matters, and I want to hear it.
You are part of this. Every listener, every subscriber, every person who has ever commented or shared or told a friend, you are part of keeping this story alive.
Part 6: A message to every person listening.
I want to talk to you directly, to some specific people right now,
Go ahead, proceed.
to my students, past and present. I know some of you are listening to this right now or will listen later. I want you to know something. The reason I do this show is because of classrooms like ours. Every time I think about would have what would have meant to me to have this kind of information. I discover new Black superheroes through my research and Assad's knowledge. What it would have meant to grow up knowing these heroes existed, knowing this history was real, knowing that Black excellence in storytelling was not an exception but a tradition. You are inheriting that tradition. Be proud of it. And remember, you can always talk to me about what you hear on this show. I am not just your teacher, but your co host.
We are brand new, just getting started. So you may be discovering this show right now for the very first time. If you are, well, please subscribe on YouTube. Please share this episode with somebody. Tell them your teacher started a podcast about Black superheroes, and it is actually incredible. Help us build this thing.
To our families, thank you. We could not do this without your love and support.
And to our friends who have been sharing our links, talking about us to their people, you are our street team. You are our marketing department. You are the reason new episodes find people every week. We see every share, every tag, every time somebody says, "Have you heard this podcast?" We feel it.
Now, here is what we need from all of you, every single one of you.
Tell us what you want to hear. Comment, post, share, tag us. Tell us which hero is your favorite. Tell us which thing we've got wrong, if that's possible.
He got stuck on that, y'all.
Tell us which one you haven't heard yet covered and that which one you've been waiting for. Tell us the first time you saw yourself in a comic book or a cartoon. These stories are the reason this show exists.
And remember, you don't have to wait for Sunday. Our posts are up all week. Fact, polls, questions. They are there for you. You can be part of this conversation on Monday morning, Tuesday afternoon, Wednesday night, anytime you want.
Leave a comment. Be nice, even if it's just one word. Even if it's just a fire emoji. We read everything. We respond as much as we can. You are not just listeners. You are this community. You are our community. This community makes Heroes Unmasked more than a podcast.
So that's a wrap on our special edition episode, The Men Who Kept Milestone Alive. Dennis Cohen, who drew the blueprint for a universe. Derek T. Dingle, who built the business that protected Black intellectual property. Michael Davis, who laid a foundation. And Reginald Hudlin, who refused to let the fire go out.
We are doing our part to keep the fire lit also. Make some noise. Comment, share this post, tag them, tag us. The louder this community gets, the more doors open. Heroes Unmasked. History reclaimed from Dakota to Wakanda. We will see you, not just Sunday. We will see you all week. Check the posts, leave comments, stay in the conversation.
Until next time, stay unmasked.
Stay heroic.